The first thing Elena noticed was how softly he turned the page. Outside, rain tapped against the apartment window, thin and restless against old glass. Her son lay under a faded blue blanket, half awake, one small hand still gripping the edge of his pillow. Beside his bed, under the weak amber lamp she had bought from a second-hand shop after her divorce, Damien Vale was reading a bedtime story in a voice so low it almost disappeared into the rain. Most of the city would have crossed the street to avoid him. Elena knew why. He had blood on 2 fingers. Dark enough to see, not fresh enough to drip. He sat in a narrow wooden chair that looked too fragile under his frame. Black coat folded over the back. Sleeves rolled once. His scarred hands careful with the torn children's book. Noah watched him with the quiet trust children sometimes gave before adults had decided whether someone deserved it. Elena stood in the doorway and did not move. 3 months ago, if anyone had told her a mafia boss would be inside her apartment, reading to her child, she would have locked every door she owned. Now she was counting his breathing, watching his hands, trying to understand why the most dangerous man in her neighborhood had learned which floorboards in her apartment creaked. Damien turned another page. The bear stayed awake because he thought if he slept, the forest might forget him. Noah frowned sleepily. That's sad. A shadow moved behind Damien's eyes. Sometimes, Elena hated that answer because it sounded human. She had spent weeks building rules around him. He stayed near the building. He spoke only when needed. He never touched Noah unless her son reached first. He never stepped too far into their life. He was danger at the edge of the hallway. Useful, temporary. Then Noah had asked him to read, and Damien had said yes. The smell reached her before the alarm. Thin, bitter, wrong. At first, she thought it was the old wiring again. This building always smelled tired, wet concrete. Detergent from the laundromat downstairs. Cheap dinners through cracked doors. But this was sharper, oily. Smoke. Elena straightened. Damien stopped reading before she said a word. His eyes lifted toward the ceiling. Then the hallway. He stood so quickly the chair scraped hard across the floor. Noah flinched. Elena. Damien said. His voice had changed. No softness now. Take him. She crossed the room and pulled Noah against her chest. Smoke began sliding under the apartment door in pale gray threads. Somewhere below, a woman screamed. Then came pounding footsteps. Not running away. Running upward. Damien moved to the front door and placed one hand flat against it. He did not open it. He listened. His shoulders hardened. That frightened her more than the smoke. What is it? Elena asked. Noah's fingers tightened around her shirt. Damien spoke without turning. They didn't come to burn the building. Elena felt cold move through her. He looked back at her, eyes sharp. Fully awake? Lethal. They came because they know you're inside. 3 months before the fire. Elena Marrow still believed danger had a shape she could recognize. Loud voices. Hard hands. Men who slammed doors so the hallway would know they were angry. She had learned to notice things because noticing kept Noah fed. Kept rent paid late instead of unpaid. Kept their lives narrow enough to survive. Their apartment sat on the 4th floor of a brick building that had once been cream-colored and now looked permanently damp. Downstairs, a laundromat glowed all night with tired blue-white light. and beside it, Louis' diner sold coffee strong enough to carry night shift workers until morning. Elena cleaned tables there 4 evenings a week, then came home with aching wrists and tips folded into her sock. Noah was 8, small for his age, with hair that never stayed flat and eyes that watched more than they asked. He knew which bills made his mother quiet. He knew not to mention new shoes twice. Elena hated that he knew these things. Childhood should not teach a boy how to measure worry in footsteps. The first time she saw Damien Vale, he was standing under the broken awning outside the laundromat during a hard January rain. Charcoal coat, no umbrella, one hand in his pocket. 2 black cars idled at the curb. Nobody inside the laundromat looked directly at him. Elena noticed him because everyone else pretended not to. She was carrying Noah's laundry against her hip. Noah walked beside her holding a paper bag of day-old rolls from Mr. Alvarez at the diner. As they passed, Damien's eyes shifted once. Brief, controlled. Elena moved Noah to the inside of the sidewalk. The man did nothing. That somehow made him worse. Mom, Noah whispered after they crossed the street. Why did everybody get quiet? Because people are tired. Elena said. He looked back once. He didn't look tired. Elena did not answer. Men like Damien did not look calm because life had been kind. They looked calm because the world had learned to move around them. For 2 weeks, he remained only a shape in the neighborhood. Across the street in rain, beside a parked car near closing time, in the reflection of the diner window while Elena wiped sugar from the counter. He never approached her. He never looked at Noah for too long. Still, his presence changed the block. Loud men lowered their voices. Young dealers vanished from corners. The drunk who slept near the bus stop moved somewhere else. Elena told herself this was useful discomfort. Then one night, the danger crossed the street. It was nearly 1 in the morning. Elena had stayed late to cover for a waitress whose daughter had a fever. The sidewalks were black and shining after rain. Halfway down the alley beside her building, she heard shoes scrape behind her. Her shoulders tightened. But she kept walking. Do not run unless you are sure. Running tells them you are afraid. Elena Marrow, her name, in a stranger's mouth, froze her blood. She turned with her keys already between her fingers. A man stood near the dumpster. Hood low, face thin under the alley light. Another waited closer to the street. Neither looked drunk. That was the problem. Drunk men wandered. These men had been placed. You work at Louis' diner. The first said, I don't carry cash. He smiled, without warmth. We're not here for your tips. The second man moved half a step closer. Noah was upstairs with Mrs. Bell from 4B. The lobby door was 20 feet away. If she screamed, someone might look out. But people in that building survived by not seeing. Then headlights swept across the alley. A black car rolled to the curb without hurry. The rear door opened before it fully stopped. Damien Vale stepped out. The 2 men changed instantly. Their shoulders lost shape. Damien did not raise his voice. Leave. The first man swallowed. Damien took 1 step forward. That was all. No weapon shown. No performance. The alley seemed to narrow around him. Within seconds, the men were gone. Elena stood with her keys cutting into her palm. Damien looked at the marks in her skin. You should go inside. Her throat was dry. Were they yours? No. Then why were they here? His eyes moved once to the upper floors of her building. Because someone thought this entrance was unwatched. That answer did not comfort her. I don't want trouble near my son. Then stop using this alley. Anger rose before fear could stop it. I use this alley because the front light has been broken for months, and the landlord doesn't care unless somebody bleeds on the stairs. Damien looked toward the dead lamp above the side door. His face did not soften. But something in his attention shifted. It will be fixed tomorrow. I didn't ask you to fix anything. No, he said. You didn't. She went inside without thanking him. The next morning, the side entrance light worked. By noon, the broken security camera above the lobby had been replaced. By evening, the front lock no longer stuck. Mrs. Bell said the landlord had finally found shame. Elena knew better. Shame had never fixed a door in that building. Fear had. Noah noticed too much. He noticed that Damien never parked where he blocked the entrance. He noticed the corner men stopped coming around. He noticed that when Elena worked late, one black car always seemed to be near the diner. Engine off. Windows dark. The first real argument came after Noah left a drawing by the lobby mailboxes. It showed their building in colored pencil, rain falling sideways, and a tall man standing by the door with square shoulders and no face. Above him, Noah had written, "The Watchman." Elena found it before work and folded it so quickly the paper bent wrong. "Why did you draw him?" she asked. Noah looked up from tying his shoe. "Because he watches. That doesn't mean he's safe." Noah's fingers paused on the laces. "But bad people leave when he's there." Elena crouched in front of him. "Some people can make bad people leave because they are worse." Noah studied her face. "Is he worse to us?" Elena had no answer that felt clean. That night at the diner, Damien came in alone and took the corner booth. Elena brought his coffee herself because avoiding him had begun to feel more frightening than speaking. "My son is not part of whatever this is." Damien looked at her. "I know." "No. You don't. Men like you think distance is enough. You stand outside. Fix things. Scare worse men away. And maybe you call that clean. But my son sees you." His jaw tightened. "He shouldn't." "Then leave." For the first time, his eyes lowered. "Only for a second." "I can't." The words settled between them with more weight than a threat. "Why?" she asked. He looked past her toward the old building where Noah was sleeping under Mrs. Bell's watch. "There are men using your block, moving things through places they think no one important will notice. My building, near it. That's not an answer. It's the only one you can have tonight." She gripped the coffee pot until heat bit her palm. "You don't get to decide what I can have." Something like respect crossed his expression. "No, I don't." Then his phone buzzed. Whatever human trace had been there vanished. He stood. "Go home through the front. Do not stop in the lobby." Her mouth went dry. What happened? He left too much money on the table. "Call Mrs. Bell. Tell her not to open the door for anyone." The walk home took 7 minutes and felt longer. When Elena reached the building, the lobby was empty, except for a cardboard box near the mailboxes. It had not been there that morning. She backed toward the door. Phone in hand. When a voice spoke from the stairwell, "Don't touch it." Damien emerged from the shadow. One sleeve was torn near the wrist. A thin line of blood marked his knuckles. But his breathing was calm. "What is that?" Elena asked. "A message?" "For you." His eyes stayed on the box. "For anyone afraid enough to open it." Above them, Mrs. Bell's door creaked. Noah's sleepy voice drifted down from the fourth floor. Mom Elena looked up, panic flashing through her. "Stay there." Damien's gaze lifted. For one brief second, the lethal stillness in him shifted into alarm, focused entirely upward. Then he moved. Fast, silent, controlled. He passed Elena and took the stairs, 2 at a time, placing himself between the box and the floor where her son stood barefoot in the hallway light. That was the first time Elena understood the shape of his protection. It moved toward the child before the danger had a name. For the next week, Elena tried to make distance feel normal again. She took Noah to school early, picked him up herself, worked shorter shifts she could not afford, and stopped looking out the window before bed. That last part failed every night. Damien's presence had pressed danger outward. But it had also pressed itself into every corner of her awareness. Noah did not ask about him for 2 days. On the third, while Elena folded laundry, he said, "Does Mr. Vale have a mom?" Elena matched 2 socks that did not belong together. "Everyone has a mother." "I mean, does he have one now?" She looked up. Noah sat with a library book open across his knees. But he was not reading. "I don't know. He looks like nobody tells him to sleep." Elena felt the answer catch in her throat. "You don't need to worry about grown men." Noah turned a page without looking down. "You worry about everyone. That's different. Because you're my mom, yes." He considered that. Maybe nobody is his mom anymore. Children could be merciless without meaning to. 3 nights later, a storm knocked out power across half the block. The apartment went black while Elena was washing dishes. Noah came to stand beside her. "Is it the building?" "Probably." Then came a knock. 3 controlled taps. Elena took a kitchen knife from the drying rack and moved to the door. Through the peephole, she saw Damien holding a lantern. She opened only as far as the chain allowed. "You carry lanterns now." His eyes lowered briefly to the knife in her hand. "Power outages make people careless. People doors. Stairwells. Men who think darkness helps them." Noah appeared beside her hip. "Is that for us?" Damien looked at him, and his voice lowered. "Yes." Elena unlatched the chain. Damien stepped inside only after she moved back. He placed the lantern on the kitchen counter, and soft light filled the room. Noah touched it carefully. "It looks old." "It is." "Was it yours when you were little?" Damien stilled. "No." Noah waited. Damien looked at the lantern. It belonged to someone who kept one burning during storms. "Your mom?" Elena's chest tightened. Damien's face did not move for a long moment. "My sister." The room held that word. Noah's voice became very small. "Where is she?" Elena touched his shoulder. "Noah." But Damien answered, "Gone." Noah looked down at the lantern. "I'm sorry." No adult would have said it that simply. Damien looked at him. Something in his eyes shifted. "Thank you." The power stayed out. Elena should have told Damien to leave. Instead, she made tea. Noah brought his library book to the table. "Mom reads fast," he said. "Because Mom is tired," Elena said. You skip descriptions. I skip trees. They matter. Damien looked at the book. What happens in it? Noah brightened. A fox gets lost, and a bear helps him find home. Except the bear is grumpy and says he doesn't care. Elena knew where this was going, 1 second too late. Noah pushed the book across the table. Can you read it? The apartment seemed to narrow around that question. Damien did not reach for the book. He looked at Elena first, waiting, letting the decision remain hers. Noah's face fell. It's okay. That broke the moment. Her son trying to take back a harmless request because he had learned adults carried invisible walls. Elena looked at Damien. 1 page. Damien removed his coat and sat. Without the coat, he looked no less dangerous. Dark shirt. Old scars near his wrist. Body still ready, even at a kitchen table. But when he picked up the book, he handled it carefully, as if torn pages deserved respect. He read 1 page, then Noah asked for the next. Damien closed the book halfway. Your mother said 1. Noah glanced at Elena. Betrayed. But it ends in the middle. All good stories know where to stop. Damien said. Elena nearly smiled. Then a scrape came from the hallway. Near the lock, Damien's hand went flat on the table. The softness vanished so quickly Elena felt the loss like cold air. He stood, placed 1 finger to his lips, then took the knife from the counter and passed it handle first to Elena without looking away from the door. He stepped into the dark hallway. A man outside whispered something Elena could not hear. Damien answered once. Too low. Too calm. The whisper stopped. Footsteps retreated down the hall. Then down the stairs. Gone. When Damien came back, his eyes were hard enough to make the room smaller. Who was that? Elena asked. No one who will knock again. That is not an answer. It is the safest one. Her anger shook under her breath. Do not sit at my table. Read to my son. Make this room feel normal. Then turn into a wall and tell me nothing. His gaze flicked toward Noah, frozen at the table with the library book clutched to his chest. Elena lowered her voice. I need to know what comes near my child. Damien looked back at her. This time, he did not retreat quickly enough. There is a route through this building. Basement to rear stairwell. Someone used it before I knew your name. Elena went still. What were they moving weapons? Money. Men when they needed to disappear. The kitchen seemed to tilt. Her building. Their stairwell. The laundry room where Noah liked the humming machines. And you let us live above that, his face hardened. But not at her. At himself. I shut it down. When after the alley, you should have told me. Yes. The admission cut through her anger because it gave her nowhere easy to go. Noah's voice came from the table. Are bad people coming here? Elena turned quickly. But Damien answered before she could shape a lie. They tried. The boy's eyes widened. Damien lowered himself slightly. Not making himself small, only bringing his voice to the child's level. They will not get through me. No promise of a world without danger. A shield stating where it would stand. Noah believed him. Elena saw it happen. And fear moved through her in a new direction because she wanted to believe him too. The power returned with a buzz. Damien pushed the book gently back to Noah. I should go. Noah hugged it to his chest. Can you finish it another time? Elena's answer was ready. No. Clean. necessary, protective. But Damien looked at her first, waiting. Maybe, Elena said. Noah accepted that as hope. At the door, Damien paused, eyes moving across the apartment as if memorizing weak points. Window latch, fire escape, chain lock, mother, child. Then he looked at Elena. They know I care about this building now. Her mouth went dry. What happens if they learn you care about us? Damien looked toward Noah, then back at her. Then I stop hiding it. By morning, Elena had convinced herself the story had only happened because of the storm. Then she opened the apartment door and found one of Damien's men standing across the hall. He was younger, close-cropped hair, plain coat, still enough to make ordinary clothes look like a uniform. Miss Marrow, he said. She pulled Noah closer. No. The man did not blink. Mr. Vale asked me to watch the floor. Tell him this is not a hotel, and I am not one of his properties. Before the young man could answer, Damien's voice came from the stairwell. Marco. The man straightened. Damien climbed the last steps without hurry. Elena turned on him. You placed a guard outside my apartment without asking. Outside the floor. My son sleeps on this floor. That is why he's here. Her hand tightened around Noah's lunch bag. You don't get to wrap danger around us and call it protection. Damien took that, without flinching. I am trying to keep danger from reaching you. It already reached us. Through you. The hallway went still. Noah looked down at his shoes. Damien's voice stayed quiet. You're right. She had expected defense. His agreement left anger with nowhere clean to strike. At the school gate, Noah stopped with his fingers tight around Elena's hand. What if they come here? They won't. She said too quickly. Behind them, Marco paused beside a newspaper stand, watching traffic, rooftops, and the alley near the gym entrance. Elena crouched in front of Noah. You listen to your teacher. You stay inside. I'll be here when school ends. Noah nodded. But his eyes moved past her. Damien stood across the street near a parked car. Watching the school entrance with the grave attention, he gave locked doors. He did not wave. He simply stood there. A quiet line drawn between the building and whatever might come from the street. Noah saw him and breathed easier. That hurt. When Noah disappeared inside, Elena crossed the street. You cannot follow him everywhere. No. Then why are you here? Because they watched the school yesterday. For a second, sound left the street. Who men who used to move through your building? You told me that route was shut down. It was. Then why are they near my son's school? His jaw hardened. Because someone told them I was watching it. The words reached her slowly. Someone told them. Not guessed. Told. Elena stepped closer. You have a leak? Damien looked at her. Brief approval crossed his eyes. Grim and cold. Yes. At 2:30. Elena's phone buzzed at the diner. Unknown number. A photograph appeared. Noah's school backpack hanging from its cubby. Then a message. Cute kid. Elena dropped the plate in her hand. It shattered across the floor. She called the school. No answer. Again. Bossu. Then Marco. Miss Marrow, my son. We have eyes on the entrance. Inside. Check inside. A pause. Too long. Then his voice changed. "I'm moving." Elena ran from the diner into cold rain. Halfway to the school, a black car pulled hard to the curb. Damien leaned across and opened the passenger door. "Get in." She did. The car moved before the door fully closed. She shoved the phone toward him. Damien looked once. The temperature inside the car seemed to drop. He did not curse. He became completely still. "Marco," he said into his phone. The answer came breathless. "Teacher says Noah went to the bathroom 5 minutes ago." Damien's voice stayed level. "Lockdown exits. Nobody leaves with a child. I'm 2 minutes out. At the school." Damien did not wait for permission. He moved through the front doors with Elena behind him and 2 men coming from the side entrance. Teachers turned. A secretary stood with a phone in her hand. Damien's eyes swept the hallway once and found everything. Marco appeared near the restroom corridor. "Noah is not in the bathroom." Elena felt the floor give. Damien caught her by the arm before she fell. "Breathe," he said. She tried. Failed. He leaned closer. "Elena, look at me." She did. His eyes were hard, but not empty. "I will find him." Then Noah screamed. Short. Sharp. Terrified. Every adult in the hallway froze except Damien. The service corridor led to the loading area behind the cafeteria, where rain hammered metal awnings and trash bins lined the brick wall. A man in a gray maintenance jacket had Noah by the arm. Another held the back gate open. The man holding Noah lifted a small dark blade. Elena went cold. Damien stopped instantly. The man smiled. "Heard you liked this one." Noah sobbed once. "Mr. Val." The name changed the air. Damien spoke to Noah. "Not the man. Close your eyes." Noah obeyed. Damien moved. One step. A hand caught the wrist with the blade. A turn drove the man's shoulder into brick. Marco crossed behind and took the second man before he reached the gate. The blade clattered across wet concrete. Noah stumbled free. Damien did not chase the fallen knife. He caught Noah first. That image burned itself into Elena, the most feared man in the city. One hand still pinning an attacker, the other arm pulling her son behind him with absolute care. Shield first. Punishment second. Elena ran to Noah and dropped to her knees. He crashed into her chest, shaking so hard she could feel his teeth chatter. Damien released the man only after Marco had him restrained. The attacker spat blood and laughed weakly. "You really did get soft." Damien looked at him. No softness in that look. Only decision. "Who sent you?" The man smiled through blood. "Ask your own table." Damien's expression did not change, but Elena saw the words land. His own table. His own men. His own world had seen the child. Back at the apartment, Noah sat on the couch wrapped in Damien's coat because his own jacket had been torn. His library book lay open on the table, still at the page where the fox had not found his way home. Noah saw it and started crying again. After a long while, he lifted his face from Elena's sweater. Can he finish the story? Elena closed her eyes. Damien stood near the door, refusing the chair. As if the child in his coat had confirmed something he feared, Noah's voice broke. "Please. I don't want it to stop where he's lost." Damien crossed the room, sat in the wooden chair, and picked up the book. His voice, when it came, was lower than before. The bear did not tell the fox he was afraid. He only walked beside him until the trees began to look familiar. Across the room, his phone buzzed once, twice. He kept reading. On the third buzz, he stopped and checked the screen. Elena watched his eyes. Whatever he read did not surprise him. It confirmed something. He closed the book gently. "What is it?" she asked. Damien looked toward the apartment window, where rain blurred the city below. "They know I brought him home, and now they know which window is yours." For 1 hour, nothing happened. That was the part Elena would resent later. The ordinary dishes in the sink, the radiator clicking, Noah breathing unevenly under Damien's coat while Mrs. Bell sat beside him with her cane across her knees like she meant to fight the city herself. Damien stood near the door, phone in hand, speaking in clipped fragments. North stairwell, basement exit, roof access. No one moves alone. Then his phone buzzed a second time. He stepped into the hallway. Elena could see him through the half-open door, back turned, shoulders set. The voice on the other end was not Damien's men. She could tell by the way Damien went completely still. The other voice came through faintly, calm, measured. The voice of a man discussing logistics, not threats. She could only catch pieces. "The route needs to be clean before morning." A pause. "Sentiment is expensive." "Damien, you know that." Another pause. Damien's answer was 3 words. Too low to hear. But the other voice went on, patient, almost administrative, in the same tone a man might use to discuss a contract renewal. No anger, no urgency, just cost and consequence spoken in a language that had no room for the boy sitting 10 feet away wrapped in a borrowed coat. That was the voice of Victor Sane. Elena had pictured something louder, crueler. What she heard was worse. A man who had decided the child and the mother were variables, and who spoke about closing routes the same way her old landlord spoke about closing leases. Efficient, untroubled. When Damien came back inside, his face had changed. Something that had been building in him had settled into decision. "We're leaving," he said. "Not a question. We're leaving now." Elena finally stood. "We're leaving. Not through the lobby. Then through the fire escape. They'll expect fear to choose the fastest exit." Her voice cracked. "My son is sitting here in your coat after someone tried to take him from school. Do not talk to me about what fear chooses." Damien looked at Noah, then back to her. "I'm getting you out. But I will not hand them your path, because panic wants motion." Mrs. Bell tapped her cane once. "Then stop arguing and tell us which door lives." "The roof," Damien said. "Across to the east building, down through their service stairwell. A car will wait on Mercer." Elena started. "Noah can't jump roofs." "He won't jump. I'll carry him." Noah looked up, pale and swollen-eyed. "I can walk." "I know," Damien said. "This is faster." Elena grabbed the emergency bag she had kept half-packed since the divorce documents. Cash. Spare Inhaler. Noah's birth certificate in a plastic sleeve. When she came back, Damien was kneeling in front of Noah, adjusting the coat so he could breathe. "Are they mad because you read the story?" Noah asked. The room went still. Damien's hands paused only once. "No." "Then why?" Because men like that think caring makes a person easier to hurt. Noah considered that. Does it? Damien looked at him. Yes. And stronger. Then the lights went out. The apartment dropped into black. Marco's voice came from the hall. Boss. One word. Wrong shape. Urgent. Damien opened the door. What basement? Then Elena smelled it. Thin at first. Bitter. Oily. Smoke. Damien turned back. Roof. Now. The hallway filled fast. Doors opened. Neighbors leaned out half-dressed, carrying phones. Children. Animals wrapped in blankets. Someone shouted the lobby was smoking. A baby cried below. Damien's voice cut through without becoming loud. Everyone up. Marco. Clear the fifth. Anton. Take Belle. Mrs. Belle glared. I can climb. Anton lifted her before she could swing the cane. Yes. Mom. Smoke climbed behind them with hunger. At the fifth-floor landing, the roof door was jammed. Marco hit it with his shoulder. Nothing. Again. Noah coughed. That sound changed Damien. He moved past Marco, took the iron fire extinguisher from the wall, and struck the lock once, twice. On the fourth hit, the door burst outward into rain and cold night air. People surged. Damien stopped them with one command. Slow. Children first. On the roof, rain struck clean and freezing after smoke. Across a narrow gap, the east building waited slightly lower, separated by an old metal service walkway. Marco cut the chain. Damien took Noah from Elena's arms. For 1 second, she resisted. Mother fear. Damien felt it and stopped. Their eyes met in rain and smoke. I have him, he said. Noah wrapped his arms around Damien's neck. Elena let go because the building behind them was burning, and trust sometimes arrived without permission. Halfway across, gunfire cracked from below. The railing beside Damien sparked. Elena screamed. Damien turned instantly, shielding Noah with his body. He did not crouch in fear. He adjusted Noah higher against his chest and crossed the last steps with lethal calm. When he reached the east roof, he placed Noah into Elena's arms and turned back. No, she said. They're below. Come with us. His eyes moved over her face. Then Noah's. I am. Then he stepped back toward the gunfire. Elena understood too late. He was coming with them by making sure nothing followed. Below, headlights erupted in the alley. 2 black cars blocked both ends. Men spilled out in coordinated silence. No chaos. No wild shouting. Damien's world moved with terrifying precision. And Elena saw what his enemies saw when they mistook gentleness for weakness. He was not less dangerous because he had read to Noah. He was more dangerous because now the violence had somewhere to stand. Then Mrs. Belle touched Elena's arm. The east building roof door was locked from the inside. Smoke drifted lower. Noah coughed again. Damien saw the problem at once. He ran back across the grating, through smoke and rain, drew a handgun, angled it downward away from everyone, and fired twice into the lock. The sound cracked the night open. He kicked once and the door flew inward. Down. In the east stairwell, Marco's voice came through Damien's phone. Basement team found accelerant. 3 points. They wanted it fast. Elena felt sick. This had not been warning. This had been design. On the second floor, shouts rose below. Someone waited near the exit. Damien turned to Anton. Take them through 2. Elena caught his sleeve. You said the car was on Mercer. It is. Then where are you going to open the way? No more doors where you disappear. Damien looked at her hand, then her face. I disappear when leaving keeps you safer. Tonight it doesn't. He removed her hand gently and went down the stairs. Anton led Elena, Noah, and Mrs. Bell through a second-floor apartment to a rear fire escape. The waiting car was closer than Mercer. Engine running. Rear door open. Elena put Noah inside first. Then turned. Damien was not there. The burning building groaned behind them. Orange light pulsed behind broken windows. Where is he? Anton looked toward the alley. That was answer enough. She ran before anyone stopped her. Through rain and firelight, she saw Damien near the Mercer exit. 3 men were down. He gripped one by the front of his jacket. The man laughed through broken teeth. You carried the boy. Everyone saw. Damien's grip tightened. Your own table sold you for less than the price of that building. Elena stopped. His own table. Again. Damien said one word. Name. The man smiled, then glanced past him toward Elena. That tiny glance was enough. Damien crossed the distance in 3 strides and placed himself between her and every dark window facing the courtyard. His voice was low and furious. Why are you here? She trembled. Soaked, shaking from smoke and fear, because you keep walking toward things alone. For the first time, his anger broke through restraint. I can survive alone. Elena looked past him at her burning building, at neighbors crying under emergency blankets, at black smoke swallowing the place where Noah's drawings and shoes and library book had been. Then she looked back at him. My son can't. The words struck harder than accusation. Behind them, Noah called from the car. Voice cracked. Mr. Val. Damien turned. Noah had climbed halfway out despite Mrs. Bell trying to hold him back. Damien moved instantly, all fury vanishing into purpose. Noah grabbed his wet shirt with both hands. Don't go back. Damien lowered himself to meet the child's eyes. I won't. Elena knew promises. This one cost him. Damien looked at Anton. Take them to the safe house. Elena stiffened. No. We are not being moved like evidence. No more half-truths. If we go anywhere, you tell me everything. Fire trucks arrived at the far end of the block. Red light washing over Damien's face. The old distance tried to return. It failed. There is a man at my table. He said, Victor Sane. He used your building before I shut it down. When he saw me protect the boy, he understood what every enemy wants to understand. Elena's throat tightened. Weakness. Damien's eyes did not leave hers. Leverage. That word was worse. Tonight was meant to burn the root before I could expose him. And burn the place I kept looking at. Noah whispered from the car. My book. The smallness of it broke her. Damien heard. His face changed almost imperceptibly. He looked at Anton. Get another copy. Anton nodded once, as if replacing a child's library book in the middle of an arson scene was now a command equal to any other. Damien stepped back. Victor will not stop because I hide you. He stops when every man who heard his offer understands the price. This was no longer escape. It was declaration. Damien looked at Elena. You asked for no more half-truths. By morning, every crew in this city will know your son's name is not to be spoken. Your door is not to be approached. Your life is not a message board for men who want my chair. Elena held his chaser. And what does that make us? His answer came without pause. Protected. The safe house was smaller than Elena expected. It sat above a closed machine repair shop near a rail yard. With old hardwood floors, thick locks, 2 narrow bedrooms, and windows facing gray morning light. Practical. Hidden. Built for survival. Not pride. Mrs. Bell took the couch and declared all criminal hideouts needed better blankets. Noah fell asleep fully dressed with soot still at the edge of his hair. One hand curled around the replacement library book Anton somehow found before sunrise. Elena sat beside him for a long time, watching his breathing slow. At some point, her eyes moved to Damien's coat. Still draped across Noah's shoulders, she adjusted it without thinking, pulling it higher where it had slipped. As she did, her hand caught the edge of the inner pocket. Something inside. She reached in carefully. A photograph. Small, worn at the corners the way photographs got when they were carried a long time. A young girl, maybe 8 or 9 years old. Dark hair. School photo background pale blue. The kind no school anywhere seemed to update. The girl was looking slightly past the camera the way children did when they'd been told to stay still too long. Not unhappy. Just impatient with the stillness. Elena stared at it for a long moment. She did not ask Marco who it was. She already understood. She folded the photograph back exactly as she had found it and returned it to the pocket. Then she sat back down beside her son. For the rest of the night, she stopped wondering why the most dangerous man in the city had learned which floorboards in their apartment creaked. Her apartment was gone. Not fully collapsed, but burned enough that the 4th floor was sealed. Some things survived. Many didn't. Loss became strangely quiet after fire. It no longer screamed. It counted. Damien did not return that morning, or the afternoon. At dusk, Noah woke and asked, did he go back? Elena knew who he meant. Yes. Noah stared at the replacement book. He said he wouldn't. The hurt in his voice was painfully clean. He said he wouldn't leave you. That's different. Children were cruelly precise. Then quietly, will he die? Elena's throat tightened. There were no useful lies left. I don't know. That night, Marco received a message. He read it, then looked toward the locked bedroom where Noah slept. Elena saw what he hesitated. Wrong choice. No more half-truths. She said. Marco exhaled. Victor's men are breaking. 3 crews walked away from him. Why? Because Mr. Vale made it public. Cold moved through her. What did he do? Marco's answer came flat. He sat at his own table. By midnight, Damien returned. Elena heard one controlled knock, then the bolt sliding. He entered with rain still dark on his coat. More tired than wounded. A faint bruise near his temple. Blood at one knuckle. eyes sharp, alive. Elena stood before she realized she had moved. Anger arrived first, because relief had nowhere else to go. You left. Yes. You promised him. I promised I wouldn't leave him. You walked into a war. I ended one. The room tightened. Mrs. Bell opened one eye from the couch and wisely stayed silent. Elena crossed her arms. Then tell me everything. Damien removed his coat. Then he told her. Victor had been logistics. Quiet. Patient. The kind of man dangerous organizations mistook for background until background learned ambition. When Damien shut down the building route, Victor lost money. When Damien guarded the building, Victor noticed attention. When Damien carried Noah from the schoolyard and then from the roof, every watcher understood the same thing. Leverage. So Victor used fire. Fear. Public humiliation. A message sent through a mother and child. And your table, Elena asked. Damien looked toward the rain-dark window. Half stayed. Half watched. That was colder than betrayal. Men waiting to see who survived. What changed, she asked. His eyes returned to her. I stopped pretending distance protected you. Noah's bedroom door opened. Small bare feet. Pajamas wrinkled. Hair crushed on one side. Hess saw Damien. Hurt came first. Then relief. You came back. Damien turned fully toward him. Yes. You left. Mrs. Bell muttered into a blanca. Straight to the throat. Damien lowered himself enough to meet Noah's eyes without making himself small. Yes. Why? Because men who burned your home thought fear would keep me busy protecting only one door. I had to make sure there were no more doors for them. Noah studied him. Did you win? Yes. Then Noah held out the book. Finish it. Damien took it. Sat. Read. His voice was rough from smoke and exhaustion. The fox thought home was a place he had lost. The bear knew home could also be the path someone guarded until morning. Noah fell asleep before the ending. Book against his chest. Breathing, even. Sarfet. Later. Elena stepped onto the narrow balcony outside the kitchen. Rain had softened to mist over the rail yard. Damien stayed at the doorway, respecting space. What happens now, she asked. Victor is gone. Dead or vanished, she did not ask. My table knows. Your son's name is closed. Your location is closed. Your life is outside trade. She exhaled slowly. A law written in his world. Terrible. Useful. What about us? He looked through the wet rail yard first. Then back at her. The 4th floor is gone. The East building owner owes me 2 honest decisions. A vacant unit on the 3rd floor. Safer access. New locks. Clear sight lines. He had already thought forward a specific floor mapped before she had asked. Protection built before it was announced. Elena looked at Damien. You're still dangerous. Yes. I still don't trust your world. You shouldn't. My son will keep asking you impossible questions. A faint shadow touched his expression. I know. 2 weeks later. Elena unlocked a different apartment door. 3rd floor. East building. Smaller kitchen. Cleaner walls. Noah's shoes sat by a... The locks were stronger. The windows faced the same wet city. And for the first time since the fire, her son slept through an entire night without waking to check if smoke was under the door. That morning, Noah sat cross-legged on the rug, doing homework badly on purpose because he wanted attention. Mrs. Bell occupied the armchair like a retired general overseeing fragile civilization. Elena was washing dishes when she heard 3 controlled taps. She froze only half a second now. Then she opened the door. Damien Vale stood in the hallway carrying a brown paper bag from Louis' diner. Rain darkened one shoulder of his coat. No guards. No visible weapon. No urgency. Noah appeared instantly behind Elena. "You came back." "Yes." Damien stepped inside only after Elena moved aside. He placed the bag on the table. Warm rolls. 1 small apple pie. Coffee for Elena. Tea for Mrs. Bell. Noah held up his workbook. Fraction. Damien looked at the page. "You're doing them upside down." I wanted to see if math could feel fear. For the first time, Elena heard Damien laugh. Actual sound. Low. Brief. Worn from disuse. Later. After Noah fell asleep and Mrs. Bell pretended not to doze in front of late-night television. Elena stepped into the hallway with Damien. Cold light. Clean walls. Rain beyond the stairwell glass. There may always be men who remember what happened. He said, "I know. They may test distance. I know. If they do," she cut in softly, "you'll come." His jaw shifted once. Yes. That was steadier than romance. A dangerous man stating where he would stand. Then Noah's sleepy voice carried from inside. "Mr. Vale." Damien turned before Elena did. Noah stood barefoot in the hall. Blanket dragging behind him. "You forgot the last page." Damien looked at Elena once. "Permission?" Still asking. She stepped aside. He walked back inside, took the book from the kitchen table, and sat beside the boy. He read the final page under a warm lamp while rain tapped softly against glass, and an exhausted mother stood in the doorway watching a lethal man lower his voice for her child. When he finished, Noah fell asleep before saying thank you. Damien adjusted the blanket, stood, looked once toward the locked door, then toward the window, still watchful, still dangerous, still here. Outside, beyond rain and stairwells and old smoke, the city had already learned what his silence meant. There were buildings men could burn. There were routes men could buy. But there were doors no one touched once a lethal man decided a child was behind them. If you want to keep walking beside people who carry danger like a shield instead of a throne, stay close for the next night. Somewhere else in this city, another quiet hallway is already holding its breath, and another door is waiting to learn who has been standing outside it.